Just a little after 6. Welcome back. We are reconvening after the council's recess. Tony, would you please call the roll?
Jimenez.
Present.
Torres. Oh, sorry. Cohen.
Here.
Ortiz.
Present.
Davis. Dwan.
Here.
Candelas.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Batra.
Present.
Kamei.
Here.
Mahan.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Good evening. I understand that there are a few folks here who are hoping to speak on item 10.2, which the council already took up. We had specifically noted, although I recognize the agenda may not have been completely clear to everyone, we noted that 10.3 was not to be heard before 6 p.m. But that being said, here's what I'd like to do. We are on item 10.3. We're going to take that up and allow the council to take action on item 10.3. We'll then move to open forum. And even though 10.2 was on today's agenda, I'll allow anyone who wants to speak on 10.2 to do so at that time. And then, of course, if the council wanted to move to reconsider, we could. But I want to, since we're on 10.3 and the council already voted on 10.2, I do want to take up that item, and then we'll hear from those who are here to speak on item 10.2. Okay, so going to 10.3 now, we have a staff presentation. So Chris, I believe I'm handing things over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chris Byrne, Director of Planning, Building and Code Enforcement. I'm joined today, sorry, a little feedback, by David Keon, Principal Planner for Environmental, and John Tu, the Division Manager for Development Review. So the project before you, I apologize, my notes are just coming up. Is a planned development permit, rezoning and vested tentative map in North San Jose, as well as a planned development, a planned development rezoning and planned development permit. The project is located in North San Jose, as I mentioned. The site is at the intersection of Sealy and Montague Expressway. The site has a general plan designation of IP Industrial Park with a transit employment residential overlay, and then has a commensurate zoning of IP Industrial Park. So the proposed zoning is made up of two different components. One is a multifamily component that includes affordable, and then a lower density component which includes townhomes. These components, or the components of the project, amount to roughly 1,400 multifamily residential units, a little under 19,000 square feet of ground floor commercial, a 2.5 acre public park, and will include construction hours that include Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The project includes the demolition of 2 residences and a fruit stand, and associated structures at an existing orchard that is on the site. Ultimately, the site will include a subdivision from 3 lots into 48 lots with up to 154 residential condominiums and 6 commercial condos as well. So for the environmental review, we did prepare an environmental impact report. The notice of preparation went out back in February of 2022. We'd completed our environmental scoping meeting in March of that year, and then have since been working through the draft environmental impact report. That was circulated earlier this year in March through May, and then the final environmental impact report was before the Planning Commission back in June. So the project did include impacts that could be mitigated to below significant thresholds included air quality, nesting birds, archaeological resources, hazardous materials from past agricultural uses on the site, construction-related noise, as well as vehicle miles traveled. The following impact will exceed the significance threshold even with mitigation measures applied. And that is that the project will result in a significant and unavoidable impact to cultural resources due to the demolition of the historic house and other structures on the site, and features that collectively and individually were eligible for listing under the California Register of Historical Resources and the San Jose Historic Resource Inventory. We did analyze a number of project alternatives, including a no project alternative, no project with a redevelopment alternative, historic resources avoidance alternative, as well as relocation of the historic resource and on-site relocation of the individual resource, which is the house only. The historic resource avoidance alternative would be the environmentally superior alternative because it avoided the significant and unavoidable impact to the project. We received 19 written comment letters during the public circulation period on the environmental impact report. The concerns raised included reference to a traffic signal at Sealy and Montague, concerns around increased traffic and impacts regarding vehicle miles traveled, questions on the baseline conditions for analysis, as well as impacts to Coyote Creek and water quality, impacts to special status species on the site, impacts to the city's historical resources, as well as construction noise impacts. All of these comments were addressed in the final EIR, and none of these comments raised new significant issues. Therefore, recirculation of the EIR is not required. So with that, staff is recommending that City Council adopt a resolution certifying the environmental impact report and making certain findings concerning significant impacts, mitigation measures, alternatives, and adopting a statement of overriding consideration. That City Council approve an ordinance rezoning the property from IP Industrial Park to IPPD, Planned Development Zoning District. Adopt a resolution approving, subject to conditions, a vesting tentative map to subdivide the 3 lots into 48 lots, and adopt a resolution approving, subject to conditions, a planned development permit to allow the demolition of the residences, the fruit stand and ancillary structures, totaling approximately 19,000 square feet, and the removal of 584 trees, 261 of which are ordnance, and for the construction of a mixed-use development consisting of 1,472 multifamily residential units. And with that, staff is available for questions.
Great, thanks for the staff presentation. Do we have public comment? And I believe do we start with the applicant?
Yes, so I don't know which of the names is the applicant. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so 5 minutes.
Great. So I believe we should have a 5-minute timer for the applicant. Thank you.
The clock's working this time.
Great.
Good evening, Mayor Mahan, members of the council. My name is Eric Schoenauer, and I represent the Hanover Company, Summerhill Homes, and the Pacific Companies on this application. First of all, we'd like to thank all the city staff, all the city departments for a lot of work over the last several years to get this project here today. There we go. And so this site was designated by the City Council in 2005 as a residential overlay site. So this has been 19 years in the making to finally get a new neighborhood on this location. As staff indicated, this is a mixed housing type neighborhood, and this is a depiction of that neighborhood. So centered around a new 2.5 acre city park, you'll see 4 multifamily buildings in blue, and I think that's orange. 3 of the buildings are market rate housing with some affordable in them. The orange building is 100% affordable housing. And then on the base of the market rate buildings are ground floor retail fronting on the park. So we hope to have a real vibrant neighborhood center around the park. And then at the top left are the for sale townhomes. So we have for sale, rental, market rate, and affordable all blended together in one neighborhood. This gives you a bird's eye view of the park and the multifamily buildings and retail surrounding the park. This is one of the multifamily buildings with ground floor retail fronting on the park. This is the affordable building with the lobby and leasing fronting on the park. One of the other market rate buildings with retail fronting on the park. And the third multifamily building, ground floor activation, fronting on the park. And this is a depiction of the urban style townhomes that will be for sale on a portion of the site. In all, nearly 1,500 housing units and approximately 19,000 square feet of neighborhood retail. A key component of the plan is the park in the middle of the site. This is the the proposed master plan approved by the Parks Commission, but hasn't yet come to council. It'll come to council when this project is ultimately approved. The basic components of the park on the bottom right are some hard court play areas and pollinator garden. To the top right is an urban sitting plaza. The very top are two different dog parks, Smallland Dog Parks. On the left side is a children's play area for two different age groups. The most important part of the park is in the bottom left corner, which is the historic commemoration plaza, where we've worked closely with the Sakau'e family to come up with a way of commemorating their family's history, both on the site and in the San Jose community. In addition to the commemoration plaza that will have display boards speaking to all of that history, the Parks Commission is recommending that this park be named Aichi Ed Sakau'e Park. So that is the recommended name from the Parks Commission. That too has to come to council for your final approval. This is a close-up of the commemoration plaza area where you can see, it's a little hard, but you can see a person standing looking at one of the commemoration boards that describes the history and images within the plaza area. This is a different view of the same thing. You can see the display boards in the landscape areas. That's where the commemoration boards will happen with all of the family history. Yet another view of the plaza. So to sum up, with this project, we have 20% affordable overall on the site, 235 affordable apartments, 2.5 acre turnkey park delivered in the middle of the site, approximately 19,000 square foot of neighborhood retail to serve both this neighborhood and the workers and other residents in the area, a diverse mix of housing, and good pedestrian connectivity both within the site and connecting to the nearby neighborhood. The Planning Commission recommends approval, the planning staff recommends approval, and we hope you'll approve the mayor and council's memo. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Eric. Okay, let's continue on with public comment.
Okay, I have several cards. When I call your name, please come down to the podium. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, and the time will be displayed both on the podium and on the screen. So I'm going to start with John. It looks like middle initial C. I can't read the last name. So John, Ben Leach, Craig S., Rob Diradon Sr., and Kaylee Fetterman. Go ahead.
Will it start when I start speaking?
I've started it. I just started it.
Thank you. Members of the City Council, I speak to you on behalf of the membership of the San Jose State University's chapter of Phi Alpha Theta, the university's History Honors Society. As students of history, we have taken an interest in the matter before you today concerning the demolition of the historic Sakau'e farmstead to permit redevelopment. As young people, students, and children of this city, we feel the pinch of the region's housing shortage acutely and know well the importance of realizing this project as a boon to our city's housing stock. Yet we also understand the significance of this site within our city's story as a community impacted by World War II Japanese-American incarceration. We are glad that this significance has not gone fully unrecognized by this project, inasmuch as informational signage is a feature of the proposed project. But we encourage the city to recognize the worth of these structures on this property as well that are to be demolished under the current plan, and to consider any alternatives to this course that may allow them to be preserved. As a place recognized as meriting historic landmark status, some elements of the farmstead may be incorporated into the public park or relocated elsewhere. Please do not allow this site to be erased all together when some part of it might be saved for posterity. Buildings, we believe, can be storytellers too, and if presented in a proper way. And those on this site have an important story to tell.
Thank you, that's your time.
Oh, thank you.
Next speaker.
Rod, come on down. You're up. Hi there, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Well, I'm a newbie at this, you understand. I'm here to speak for a friend, and it's not just the normal old family, but it's the old family that's been through hell. I guess I'm speaking here for Norm Mineta, because they went through hell together in the same concentration camp at the same time and lost that same 4 years out of their lives in a time when we did things that we were ashamed of now. I think it's necessary to protect that home, not just with the signs. By the way, I think this project is great. It is a beautiful project, and I hope you do approve it. But you got to save the house. Now, History San Jose will take it. It'll be seen by a lot more people at History San Jose than if it stayed where it is. But you got to help them move it there and reestablish it at the park. I don't know where that money comes from. It isn't a lot. We just did it with the Coyote Depot, and heck, we got that donated. So there's got to be a way to protect that house and to do all the things necessary to remind the world what this family went through and what they provided after they went through it to society. It makes me have goose pimples thinking about how wonderful that quiet gentleman was. He gave so much money to so many people that you can't believe it, and he never asked for a bit of recognition. Rosemary wrote a memo about it. We strongly support it, and I hope that you approve this project, but require that the building be saved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Council. My name is Craig. I'm a lifelong resident of San Jose, and I'm a good friend of Jim Kawasim, the stepson of the late Aiki Sakaway. I would like to ask that this council either reject this development outright or at least delay the council's approval for this project by at least another 6 to 8 months. This would give the various preservationist groups more time to help raise money for an amount that could rival the current developer's offer of $12 million for the 10 acres of farm and orchard land to be purchased and then destroyed by these developers. This development proposal will do virtually nothing to help expand the inventory of actual affordable housing. Anyone who could afford a $2 or $3 million condo can still purchase housing anywhere they want. But this council's priority should be in the pursuit of actual affordable housing for the majority of the population. The solution going forward is not to destroy one of the very last vestiges of agricultural land, but instead place prefabricated housing on the rooftops of as many one-story, already existing commercial structures as possible. I've already emailed all of you earlier today more details of this aggressive urban infill strategy. I also included some of my fine art photographs of the beautiful orchard that exists on this property. to help all of you easily recognize the stunning beauty that is at risk of being destroyed all for yet more unaffordable high-rise buildings of luxury condos that simply don't help the housing process for the majority of people living in the South Bay. Let's protect this natural and rare jewel. Let's provide more time for a coalition of preservationists to raise money to buy out the current owners because they want to cash out. But let's also honor Aichi's memory and legacy by keeping this property open and in local, high-quality produce production. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. I'd also like to call down Doug and Miguel Lopez. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, my name is Ben Leach. I'm the Executive Director of the Preservation Action Council. I want to thank everybody who's spoken already and the people who are about to speak. I feel like this discussion merits something of a level set where this is a site of immense historic significance, immense aesthetic beauty that is being proposed for complete demolition for a development and a park in its place that is supposed to commemorate the very place that it already is. When we look at the plan, we see plenty of room to do both. This is not an either or. This is not a case where the development can't happen without some minor element of preservation, and that's what we're asking for. I appreciate the desire to put commemoration in the park. I don't think that when the actual place exists and can be saved, that that's appropriate or enough. And I think actual council policy agrees with that, land use policy 13.3. If it's a landmark or a city candidate landmark, we should incorporate it into the new development. And there's room to do that here. There's the will to do that here, and we really hope that we can all work together to find a way to make the project better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Honorable City Council members. My name is Kalila Fetterman on behalf of Silicon Valley Residents for Responsible Development. Silicon Valley Residents is an unincorporated association of individuals and labor organizations that may be adversely affected by the environmental impacts associated with the project. We previously submitted comments on the EIR and submitted additional comments today explaining how the staff report fails to resolve many of the EIR's deficiencies raised in our prior comments. In short, the EIR lacks substantial evidence to support its conclusion and still fails to properly mitigate the project's significant environmental impacts. With respect to biological resources, we submitted expert comments demonstrating that even with the amended mitigation for impacts to nesting birds, the project's impacts remain significant and inadequately mitigated. Our comments also demonstrate significant unmitigated impacts to bumblebees, biological communities in the Coyote Creek due to significant light pollution, as well as significant noise pollution from the project. The project also does not conform with the city's requirement for bird safety measures, and as demonstrated in our comments, impacts to birds remain significant. Finally, the project violates the city's riparian corridor protection and bird safe design policy, and the general plan requirement that a 100-foot setback from riparian habitat be achieved in all but limited number of instances, only where no significant environmental impacts would occur. Here, our experts' comments show that the project fails to comply with the 100-foot riparian setback, which will result in significant environmental impacts and directly contravenes the general plan policy. With respect to noise impacts, the EIR fails to adequately analyze or mitigate significant noise impacts to existing neighbors or new residents of the project who will be subjected to ongoing construction noise from later phases of construction of the project. Due to the project's unmitigated environmental impacts, the city does not have substantial evidence to support the statement of overriding considerations. Therefore, the City Council cannot make the necessary findings to approve the project, absent additional mitigation in a revised and
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor Mahan, fellow council members and staff. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Doug Cheshire, and I'm a field representative for the NorCal Carpenters Union. As we gather to discuss the Sealy project, it is crucial to recognize the stark reality that affects our construction workforce. In California, 25% of construction workers lack health care coverage, and nearly half qualify for safety health net programs. These are not just statistics. They reflect the lives of people who build our communities, yet are left vulnerable. Ensuring health care for these workers should be a priority. Through the utilization of state-certified apprenticeships, this project presents us with an opportunity to change this narrative. By integrating apprenticeship programs that adhere to state standards, we ensure skilled development and foster a culture of care and responsibility toward our workers. These programs provide a career pathway for men, women, and minorities to gain valuable skills in the construction industry. Enforcement of labor matters should be taken up quickly and effectively to maintain accountability on the project. This includes addressing issues such as cash pay, human trafficking, wage and hour violation, and workers' compensation fraud. Ensuring all the contractors and subcontractors adhere to labor laws and standards is essential for providing a safe and fair working environment. By doing so, we can prevent exploitation and ensure that all workers are treated with dignity and respect. As the city plans to build 1,500 units of housing, let us all build a healthier, more secure future for our workers. The Sealy project is more than a development. It is an opportunity for the well-being of those who labor to make our city a better place by prioritizing the health and safety of our construction workforce. We are investing in the very people who are building our future. In conclusion, let us seize the opportunity.
Thank you. Next speaker. I'd also like to call Sam Farb, Amanda, Nancy, and Mike. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Mayhem and members of the San Jose City Council. My name is Miguel Lopez, and I'm a resident and apprentice carpenter here in San Jose. I stand before you today to express the importance of applying labor standards to the Sealy Avenue project. A project of this magnitude needs to prioritize the well-being of its workers by ensuring standards like healthcare and hiring from accredited apprenticeship programs. These are not just benefits. These are necessities for those of us working in the construction industry. Many apprentices, like myself, often have to drive up to 2 hours just to find a good-paying construction job. This not only strains us financially, but also takes us away from our families and the communities we love. We could be working right here in our own backyard, contributing to the growth and prosperity of San Jose. By applying these labor standards to the Sealy Avenue project, we can help ensure that local workers are given the opportunity to build their skills while receiving healthcare benefits. This project can set a precedent for future developments in our city, showing that San Jose values its workers, and is committed to providing sustainable, equitable opportunities. Thank you for your time, and I urge you to consider the impact that applying these labor standards will have on the lives of local workers and the future of our city. Thank you.
Mayor Mahan, council members, my name is Sam Farb. I'm an attorney at Berliner Cohen in San Jose, and I represent Carolyn Sakawe and Jane May, who are the daughters of Edward Edward Sakawe. They own the southern approximately 11 acres contemplated to be acquired and developed by Hanover Corporation. My clients want me to convey to you their strong support for Hanover's proposed development project. My clients and I feel that the project will provide substantial benefits to the city of San Jose, including much needed housing. My clients also strongly support naming the park in the project after my client's father, Edward Sakawe. On June 5th, the city's Park and Rec Committee met, and those commissioners in attendance voted unanimously in favor of recommending that the park be named the Edward Sakawe Park, thereby honoring the many accomplishments and contributions of my client's father. Hanover is also proposing a historic interpretive center be included in the park, which would also honor my client's father's legacy and his family's history of farming on the property, and would also bring awareness
to the farming operations of Japanese American families in the area during the period prior to, during, and after World War II, and the experiences of Japanese Americans in internment camps during World War II. Mention is made of trying to preserve the family farmhouse. My clients have not advocated strongly for preserving the family farmhouse in its current location or in the park to be included in Hanover's project. My clients worry about keeping the farmhouse at its current location because of recent vandalism, theft, and arson. My clients, however, would strongly be in favor of trying to preserve the family farmhouse off-site at a safer location.
Mario, and I have an anonymous card. So those are my 6 remaining cards. You can pull it down.
No problem.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you for hearing me today. My name is Vanessa Takayama. I am the director of the Japanese American Museum of San Jose, where our mission is to collect, preserve, and share Japanese American history, art, and culture. And A.G. Edward Sakue was one of our founders. And so the preservation of historical landmarks to promote the visibility of Japanese Americans is of the highest importance to us. These landmarks can be a space of learning and education on the Japanese American incarceration during World War II. And so this is very close to my heart as someone whose family was also incarcerated. So while on-site preservation is the highest level of preservation, I think we need to acknowledge and recognize if that is not feasible and if it goes against the wishes of the family who are bearing the burden of the delays. Our families have borne enough burden. So although we don't necessarily support the preservation on-site, we urge the cities and the developer to support the following aspects of preservation for a compromise that is compassionate and balances preservation with the well-being of the family, who have suffered a lot of emotional and financial burden from the length that this has taken. So moving the historic farmhouse off-site, for example, to History Park, San Jose History Park, is one thing that we would very much support so that it can be shared with the public. Adding historical displays and installations, as we've done in Highlandville Park in Japantown, is another thing that we really, really strongly advocate for. And then also involving the Japanese American Museum of San Jose and other relevant partners in the planning process for an advisory committee is very much recommended. Thank you so much for hearing me, again, thank you so much for your support. It heartens me to hear so many people coming out to speak on this matter, and so thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
If I may, I would like to tell you how I feel about the possibility of preserving the Sakaue family home as a historical monument in the park area. I feel the home would be an important reminder of what happened to them and the 120,000 Americans of Japanese descent during World War II. On February 1942, families were uprooted from their home and livelihood and sent to internment camps away from the West Coast by Executive Order 9066. Real people of San Jose experienced this evacuation. Al and Robert, would you stand, please? To have a concrete reminder to show our children and their children what did happen and what could happen again would be invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
That's my neighbor, who I'm very proud of. When the EIRA came out on this and the historic report came out, I brought the binder over to my friend's house and I said, what do you know about this? They Everybody that's up there that you saw was in an internment camp. The oldest member up there was with Aichi at Heart Mountain. So they had a personal experience. They did not, when they read the report, they invited me back over to their home. I sat in their home and they cried. They said, I did not know this story. The Japanese people, not to generalize, generally don't want to make a disturbance. They want to blend in, they want to contribute to their society. They did not know this story, and they deserve to know that story, and many others like them that have made this place a special place. The staff memo says that it's basically an overwhelming financial burden to save this one house. I think that is unsubstantiated based on what was presented to the public over the course of a year. I do think that that should be changed. I do think it risks being challenged. I love my city, and so I hate to see that happen. But at this point in time, we are looking to see this house saved, either on-site or off-site. I trust the people at Hanover. We have talked to them at length. We, as a people, have to say that we want this thing, even in the recognition of a $600 million deferred maintenance problem with parks. If that's the way it has to be saved, it should be saved on site. If it can't be saved that way, it should be saved at History Park. We can do so much better than what we've got here. We are so in favor of the housing and the labor that's going to build it. I hope they don't have to drive over Altamont Pass to get home tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and fellow City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about a growing concern of mine and of my fellow brother and sisters in the construction industry. My name is Armando Murillo, and I am a carpenter by trade, native and long life resident of San Jose. I love my job with a passion, and I especially love seeing projects come to fruition with the satisfaction of knowing that I am helping others and improving our community. But this isn't necessarily the case for my coworkers or myself, because many a time we work hard for employers who seek to gain a profit from our hard labor and not having to provide health care nor help in supporting our apprenticeship programs. I've known friends and fellow coworkers who have had to seek public assistance because they cannot afford health care insurance on their own and have had to get on Medi-Cal for themselves and their families. And this is why I'm here today, to urge you to advocate for and to push for language that will hold contractors and developers who wish to do business in San Jose accountable for providing and contributing to an accredited apprenticeship program and the health care for its employees and their dependents. By sticking to these standards, we can help ensure that our workforce is healthy and our labor standards are up to par, while the need for public assistance decreases. Our joint apprenticeship programs will continue to train and educate our up-and-coming workforce on the latest materials and technology in the industry. Much has changed in the last 140 years with regard to the construction industry, and it came at a cost and sacrifice to the men and women in that work field. We continue to struggle to provide for our families, and we alone cannot make the transition into a sustainable way of life for ourselves and our family.
Thank you. Thank you. That's your time. Next speaker.
Jordan Moldow, District 3. All of the previous speakers spoke very eloquently, so I'll just briefly say I support preserving the house in whatever form makes sense. I thought everything that Ben Leach said was very eloquently put about trying to preserve it on the space in terms of not destroying the thing that you're commemorating. But I also understand at the same time the concerns about the protecting the home. So whatever people figure out to preserve the home, whether it be History Park or on site, but please try to figure out something. And I'm glad that there's multiple council members who seem to be in support of preserving the house somehow. Separately, I wanted to speak to one of the items in the group memo about traffic impact studies. So I understand with developments, there might be more traffic with more people, and I would urge the developers to do whatever they can while they're building up the commercial space to make sure that the tenants that are able to move into that commercial space are able to provide some of the basic services that people need in order to not have to drive outside their neighborhood. My neighborhood of Japantown is very fortunate to have a small local grocery store, and I'm sure that has saved a tremendous amount of VMT over the years. And so if there's any way to provide for people's food necessities within the community, I think that would be fantastic, and hopefully doing something like that will mitigate traffic before it ever builds up to anything that's a problem. And as the council's developing North San Jose in general, just make sure that those basic necessities, especially big grocery stores, are spread out so that, there's a grocery store within a mile or two of where people live, and they can, walk to a small one or bike to a larger one so that they don't have to drive and create congestion and emissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Councilmen and women. My name is Mario Luca. I'm with the Conco Companies. Conco Companies has been family-owned in the Bay Area for over 60 years, and we have offices all up and down the West Coast. And I was in the laborers union, I was in the carpenters union. When I really upset family members, they put me in the ironworkers union to pack bar in the summer. So I understand some of the needs that are here today. I worked my way up into the office, and now I'm the operations manager over Northern California. We employ carpenters in the union, ironworkers, laborers, masons, operators, engineers. And I just want to say it's exciting to see that there's work being developed. There's work that's happening. I don't know about the business owners that are here, but we've had a significant reduction in our workforce. Hundreds of people we've had to lay off, and finding places for them. And we have worked closely with the Hanover companies. We've done Dearden in San Jose, we've done the Cannery, we've done West Soma in San Francisco, we've done Hanover and Waverly and Oakland. It's important to me when I was in the unions, that when I got into the office, that the people that we partnered with understood our need to be significant with the unions. Hanover has shown that. We're family owned, and it's important that we take care of our family, which is our employees. They have shown a strong commitment to that. And I'm excited to see the work. I know that there are some challenges, but I don't know about everybody here, but I'm looking forward to put more of my family members to work, putting food on their tables. And I know there's some adversity, but that's what we do. We overcome adversity. And I know everybody and what they've been bringing to the table here. But I thank you for your time. And on behalf of Conco and myself, we look forward to the project, working with Hanover, and making sure that this thing moves forward in the right way. Thank you.
That was my last speaker card. Back to council.
Okay, thank you, Tony, and thank you to everyone who came out to speak this evening. We heard a lot of different and important perspectives that will no doubt inform and enrich the conversation and dialogue we have up here on the dais. So thank you for taking the time. Councilor Cohen, this project's in your district. I'm going to turn to you first.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, staff and members of the public. I'm going to start by asking indulgence because I might take a little longer than 10 minutes. We've been working on this project for a long time, so I want to make sure that I get a lot of the points across. This project is an important project for North San Jose, for all of San Jose, and for the entire South Bay. The 1,500 units planned for the site makes it the largest development project coming to council since we got an approved housing element. It's also the first, probably the first project that will break ground in North San Jose since we settled the lawsuit with Santa Clara County and our neighboring cities that opened up the possibility of beginning to develop and build out the North San Jose plan. This project will help us achieve our goals and is consistent with the North San Jose plan. I want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking because there's a lot of important considerations that we've been thinking about throughout and in the last week as we've been finalizing this work, trying to take into account all those perspectives. What I want to point out to my council colleagues here is what you did not hear tonight was a single resident of the area coming and saying, do not build this in my neighborhood. Except for downtown, I don't know that there's any other place in the city of San Jose where we could propose a 1,500 unit housing project and not have opposition from the community around it. That's because this is an area that expects development and density and already is a very dense area. The River Oaks neighborhood, which this is right on the edge of, already has multiple apartment complexes, including the second largest apartment complex in all of Silicon Valley with 1,700 units just up the road at Crescent Village. So this is something that fits with that neighborhood, and I'm proud to represent an area that wants to be part of the housing solution for our city and for the region. The project will also bring other amenities to the River Oaks community, including much-needed commercial space and a 2.5-acre park. And I heard a comment about grocery store. That was one of the goals of this project originally, was to have a grocery store on site. Unfortunately, due to the configuration of Montague Expressway and concerns that the county had about being able to improve access there, we weren't able to get a grocery store tenant, but we do have lots of other commercial space that will be beneficial to the community. Unsurprising for a project of this scale, there are complicating factors. Chief among them are the location on the edge of Coyote Creek and the historical significance of the site's use as a family farm owned by the Sackaway family, as we've heard a lot about tonight. I don't need to repeat the history. Ed Sackaway was interned during World War II and was the only property owner in San Jose able to return and retake their property because of arrangements that were made with others to hold their property for them. So there's some great historical significance to this site, and we need to make sure to incorporate that into what happens going forward. The farm is still active today. In fact, if you drive by, there's a fruit stand where you can stop and buy fruit today. So it's definitely something that we don't take lightly when we convert these properties. We've seen those conversions all across our city and county over the years. So we need to make sure that whatever's done in that property also reminds people of the history of the agriculture on that site. I want to thank Hanover Corporation for their partnership throughout this project as we work to resolve these challenges. They were available all the time for phone calls, as I heard from people with concerns, trying to find solutions where they were providing voluntarily and making offers on mitigations for a lot of the issues that have arisen at this site. And so I want to appreciate Scott and the team at Hanover for that partnership. That includes the offer to spend up to $450,000 to mitigate traffic impacts after construction is complete. The city will do further traffic studies, and they will continue to stay engaged. The developer will continue to stay engaged and offer additional resources to make improvements depending on the outcome of that study, up to $450,000 worth. That's a great benefit for the region. The history of the site is the reason why it's important to get the park right. There continue to be design discussions. In fact, the next community meeting on the park is tomorrow night, if I understand correctly. So they're continuing to meet with the community and talk about what they want in the park and how we can incorporate elements into the park. As you heard, the park name is likely to be, if the council goes along with it, Sackaway Park, once the naming is complete. The site will incorporate in some way the history of the site. And you can see from that design what wasn't mentioned besides the interpretive information, the use of the kinds of trees that are used that are traditionally, that will look like, we don't want fruit-bearing trees to make a mess in the park, but trees that are similar to the trees on the orchard to make sure we have a reminder of the agriculture, agrarian past of the site. So I'll get back to some of the park issues a little bit later, but I want to just next talk about the migratory bird issue, which we've been dealing with along the Coyote Creek. Our memo improves the timing of the test for migratory birds. The site is right along Coyote Creek, where during nesting season, which is February to August, birds may nest. There is a requirement in our group memo to make sure that within 14 days of start of construction, we're looking for migratory birds and mitigating and making sure they stay safe while they're nesting and raising their young. And once the fledglings are gone, being able to continue with construction. I'm going to make, the memo I put out this morning is correcting something that was in the original memo on the bird studies, because we inadvertently used what would be rural criteria for bird testing rather than testing for projects in urban settings. So we have tightened up that language to make sure that we're not over studying in an urban setting. So that's what that important item in that memo from this morning fixes. What's exciting about this, but what also gives us a tight timeline, is that Hanover intends to move quickly on the site, starting as soon as February 2025 with construction on the infrastructure on the entire site, starting the project by building the townhomes, and also starting on affordable housing. The funding for the affordable housing piece is could come through as soon as next week, therefore necessitating approval for the project tonight and make sure that we don't lose out on the opportunity to build the standalone affordable housing as part of the site. They also intend to get started on a multi-family housing portion of the site as well, so it would be great to have multiple parts of the site happening all at once. There's some, their commitment to putting in the infrastructure up front gives us a better feel for the fact that the site, they don't intend to build just one piece of the site and walk away. It's really important that we actually get the full community at this site. We could see people moving onto the site in just a few years, given the timeline, and so that's pretty exciting. So let me talk a little bit about the park portion. I'm going to probably ask a couple people to come up and answer some questions on the park portion. The park design, as you can see, has a lot of features in it that the community has asked for as part of the outreach to the River Oaks community around it. There's no dog park in what I call North San Jose, which is everything west of 880, 101, north of Brokaw. There is that element in the park. There's the interpretive portion of the park, a field for play structures. There's a lot of elements in this park. So obviously, if there's a consideration to move the house into the park, that has to be worked into the design of the park. Our memo does ask for a robust process going forward to finalize the design of the park so it can come back to council for approval of the master plan. There also is for whatever solution for the house there is a cost element to that. And I want to thank Hanover for their gracious request or gracious offer to spend up to $100,000 towards the cost of moving it, whether it's to a place on site or to another location such as History Park, and that's a very generous offer on their behalf, but it will cost more to move and rehabilitate the house wherever it goes. Because if it moves on site to the park, there will need to be foundation and refurbishing done so that the building can be utilized and occupied. And so I want to ask, I think Ray is here from PRNS. We've been discussing this for a couple years, the question of how we can preserve the house on site. So from the Parks Department perspective, what are some of the concerns and the feeling of the Parks Department about the ability to manage and maintain that house on site?
Right, so our concerns, we reviewed this project extensively with Hanover, and one of the things we communicated is that at the City of San Jose, we have many historic buildings in our park system that are basically not in the best state of condition, and so we have a hard time maintaining the buildings or funding repairs or renovations to the buildings. And so our major concern here is basically locating this building, this very important building, but locating it at the park, we would not be able to afford the maintenance, repairs, or ongoing renovation, conservation of the building. And so that's our biggest concern, and so we have projects basically in every district of some building that has historical importance that right now we just have a hard time figuring out funding. And even with partner groups that have committed and go out and try to figure out the funding, it's been hard to piece together enough funding to renovate different types of buildings, because you're in almost $500,000 to $1 million to even renovate a small building, so if not more. So that's one of our major concerns. And in addition to that, we don't have a lot of data right now on what it would cost to move this building to the site, and we don't have a lot of detail on the current condition of the building. So we don't know what repairs would be needed, what's the condition of the building, what's the baseline of the building, and what kind of things would need to be improved. And so those are our major concerns, and they're not small concerns for us, because this would just be added to our inventory of buildings that have historic value that we cannot currently maintain.
And there was, during this discussion, some talk about preserving the facade of the building on site as a way of keeping the historical, the home and having that be visible for people. I suppose that's something that's an in-between solution that wouldn't necessarily cost as much as maintaining the interior of the building?
Right, so that was one of several different options that were discussed, is basically taking the front facade of the building, sawing it, I don't know, the first 8 feet off, and basically preserving that component, figuring out how to preserve it in, you know, a historically valid way, and also figure out how to weatherproof it, et cetera, and that sort of thing. And so that was discussed early on. Again, there's a high cost to that, and part of it is all of those materials, the wood, et cetera, deteriorate over time. And so how is that going to be maintained and preserved over time?
Right. So thank you so much for answering the questions. One of the reasons why this particular solution makes me nervous, and I'm not going to ask you another question, so I think it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. What makes me nervous about the on-site is some of my experiences with some other historical buildings in my district. And I know that Mike and Ben will appreciate some of this other context. We have in my district at Alum Rock Park a log cabin that we would like to preserve. And right now there is unstable hill next to it. It's a building that people can't go inside safely. There's a fence around it that will likely be there for decades because there's no money in our system to deal with actually fixing that house in a way that it can become a usable log cabin. So that's one example. In North San Jose and all the way up in Alviso, the Parks Department owns the old schoolhouse, which was a community center, and it has been vacant for years. Another designated historic site that is inaccessible to the public because of all of the cost it would take to replace the roof and make it safe for people to go inside and make it usable again. And we get a lot of, we get a lot of complaints from the residents up there about why we don't fix up and open that building. So it makes me nervous to add additional old structures to the San Jose inventory at the park because of those experiences we've had with others, as Ray alluded to. That's why I was particularly excited about the idea of moving it to History Park, and excited to find out. I see Bill up there from History Park, from History San Jose, who has a spot for it up at History Park and would really like to have the house at History Park. And I would love to figure out how we can fund it. I don't want to put you on the spot. I know, Bill, if you can nod instead of come down the steps, but I know you've offered a commitment to try to fundraise up to some amount to help move the house. So if you want to comment on that, you can go ahead.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. When I heard about this house in the PAC danger zone, that was my first thought, that why didn't anybody even reach out to History Park from the very beginning? I understand, and I agree, to keep historic houses on site should be the first goal. But once we've reached that goal and it cannot be moved, I think History Park should be looked at. We have lots of room. There are very important houses that are in danger all over our city. The Sackaway family house, I think, is one that should be saved to History Park. We do have a spot for it. I've been to the house. I've been through the house. I've been through the site. I don't know the exact numbers. I know that Hanover has a number of $100,000 to help move it, and I think we could probably raise the rest of the money that would cost. I'm guessing maybe $500,000 total. There are organizations out there. There are preservation organizations. There are grants. There are foundations. This is an important piece of San Jose history. This is an important piece of our Japanese story, and definitely needs to try to be saved.
Thank you. And you currently have a small recognition of the Sackaway family at History Park at this point.
Correct. Yeah, so we already have the workers' cabins from the Sackaway family house that we tell of the migrant workers that have come through San Jose, all of the generations, from Mexican, Japanese, European, and so forth. So this would just add to we have a whole section of the park called the Valley of Heart's Delight. The Sackaway cabins, the Stevens Fruit Barn tells a story of, and Ichi Sackaway is an important part of this story. And when you go through our buildings, you can see his name all over the place. As Rod Deirdron said, he's an unsung hero in San Jose, in preservation. He's been part of just helping to preserve this city right after he came back from the internment camps in the 40s. He was on many, many of the commissions that people have no idea how important he was to that preservation movement.
Thank you. Thank you very much for making those comments. Okay, so I'm gonna piece together a motion out of various memos and suggestions that have been made throughout this process. Make a couple of besides the memos that I've already officially written out and submitted, making some amendments and additional amendments beyond that as I make a motion. The motion will start with the memo that I wrote this morning, which incorporates the group memo from last Friday with the mayor, council members Ortiz and Candelas. And that memo fixes the bird language and also adds additional language about about encouraging a robust discussion regarding design of the park and how to make sure the park is designed in such a way as to pay tribute to history of the Sackaway family farm, his internment during World War II, and his leadership in the San Jose community. I will add the language at the end of that, including the potential preservation of all or part of the house on site, so that it be part of that robust discussion going forward. Keeping in mind that we have a tight timeline because the construction will start February 1st, and so any decision that's made has to be made before that date and has to be finalized before that date. But this will allow for some period of time for continued outreach and discussion on the park. Also want to amend in the original memo the language that says, in the group memo, the language that says work with NorCal carpenters, and add the phrase "and other building trades," that phrase, to make sure union contractors are informed of the availability of bid documents. So add that in as well. And then one final amendment, I would like to ask to amend paragraph 5C under findings concerning alternatives in Resolution A. So there are 3 resolutions that are part of this staff recommendation. The 5th, I would like to strike the 5th sentence, which is on page 26 of Resolution A, that sentence that says, "No reasonably prudent person would proceed with alternative 5. Strike that sentence from the the resolution that we would be voting on tonight. And that is the entirety of my motion.
Okay, I think I've got that. We may at some point need to repeat it for folks. I hope everybody was following along. I was just making some notes. Did we have a second on the motion? Okay, second from Councilmember Dawn. Okay, let's continue the conversation. If we need to clarify the motion, we can. Anything else, Councilmember Cohen? Okay, thank you for that, and I'm going to turn to Vice Mayor Kameh.
Work. There we go. Okay, thank you so much for that, and I know Councilmember Cohen and others have been working on this for quite some time. I have not been a part of those discussions, but this is something that is very near and dear to my heart with my family and having understood the Japanese American lived experience. And I just want to share that, today we really have an opportunity to create a landmark to really appropriately reflect the historic Japanese American lived experience in the city of San Jose and in our country, and really add much needed housing in our community. It's a unique occasion to preserve the past and make way for a bright future. The Sackaway farmstead can be a place to showcase stories of thousands of U.S. citizens of Japanese descent that were incarcerated and whose properties were taken from them. The Sackaways were the only family that I am aware of that were able to come back after the war and reclaim their property due to a transfer to a friend. As an Asian American, I understand how our stories continue to be untold. It's very easy to just bulldozer and put it somewhere else. Very easy to do that. We have very little to show to tell our grandkids about the local API experience. Many of the Asian community continue to remain silent since no one wants to be that nail that sticks out. Silence does not mean we don't care. It's really fear, shame, and pain that prevent many of us from voicing our opinion. Again, I would like to thank Councilmember Cohen. I'd like to thank History San Jose, PAC San Jose, our city staff, the project proponents. and the Sakaue family for working on this project to help find solutions to also preserve our history. I would like to thank the numerous API nonprofits that have connected with me directly regarding this project. I would propose that we retain the house in the proposed park. I know that there are challenges with that, but as has been told tonight, when it comes to preservation, that's the highest level, and we should aim for that. Our Parks Department often has nonprofit organizations operating our community facilities on site, and we can do this with the Sakaue House as well. We can collaborate with nonprofits to properly tell the story of the Japanese Americans in San Jose and in the internment camps. This is bigger than just the house. This is bigger than just San Jose, because it really can reflect the 120,000 people who were taken away. It could also tell their stories. I spent over 25 years as a professional fundraiser, and I will commit to raise additional funds to keep the house in the park. To me, it seems critically important for my kids, I have 5 grandkids, to know that this piece of dirt, this piece of land, was the only land available for people. Excuse me. At the end of the day, it's not just about the house. It's not just about creating a few plaques to tell the Sakaue story. It's about our San Jose story and an American story. I really tried not to get emotional, but this is hard because we have many API communities that have been erased, and we have a chance to do something about this. It's about having the will to preserve a vital piece of history that we can share with future generations to come who will witness there will be something there for what was once there. I urge my colleagues to do the right thing and make a historical mark here in San Jose and never forget the Japanese American internment story. I want to recognize the letter that Supervisor Otto Lee wrote in support of prioritizing preserving the Sakaue farmhouse and looking at all the possibilities to have it there on the park site. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate your comments and commitment to preserving our history and telling that important story. I'm going to turn to Councilmember Torres.
Thank you for that, Vice Mayor Kamei. That was truly powerful. I'm actually, I want to ask for a friendly amendment, Councilmember Cohen, if that's okay. In item 2C2 in your memo, I'm wondering if we can add the Japanese American San Jose Museum. So let me pull it up, I'm sorry, because it's not pulling up. So I definitely want to vote for this for numerous reasons. Obviously to one, preserve our Japanese American history here in the city of San Jose, but also because JAMS SJ is in Council District 3 and they're an amazing organization that does that work. I'm wondering if we can amend it to say continue to cooperate with, and I would love for JAMS SJ to be first, Japanese American Museum of San Jose, PAC SJ, and History San Jose.
Of course, yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, is that okay with the seconder? Absolutely. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for everyone
for coming out. It's a very important, conversation. The applicant, representatives of our Japanese community, of course, the NorCal carpenters, as well as individuals in the movement for preservation of historical sites. So I just have a few, questions. Obviously, this is something I want to support, for everything that's been said. However, I am being torn into two different directions because being very conscious of the displacement of my own community, the Latino community, and what I see of essentially a lot of streamrolling of historical areas in Alum Rock. I'm very sensitive to this topic. So I wanted to ask really quickly to the applicant or Eric, whoever wants to answer, what did outreach look like to the Japanese community when the beginning of this process started?
Good evening, council members. Scott Udall with the Hanover Company. Good evening, Councilmember Ortiz. In answer to your question, we worked closely with the family when it came to the original design and of the interpretation area within the park, and consulted with them as it relates to the design as well as the tree species in the park as well.
Okay, so just the family, you didn't reach out to any Japanese organizations in San Jose?
Correct.
Okay. Which does, to me send a message that that wasn't front and center, of your guys' mind. Is there really no way to preserve this structure in the new park that's going to be built?
As far as preserving in the park, I mean, that's difficult for me to answer given the Parks Department, has already kind of spoken, on that difficulty. So we are willing to accept the council's recommendation for, preserving the house. We stand by our, offer our contribution of $100,000 towards that relocation.
Okay. Next, I'm going to go into, well, thank you for that. Nick, well, you may be the one to answer, either you or Eric, so you may want to stay down here.
Sure.
Just wanted to elevate some of the points made by the NorCal carpenters. Obviously, they're also being displaced as well. A lot of these working people, especially since there hasn't been a lot of work as of lately, and it's very hard to develop. So they had mentioned a few things. One was healthcare. Do you know that if the individuals who are going to work on this project, are they going to have healthcare?
Many of the subcontractors, throughout the trades, offer healthcare. This project is, a ways away from the bidding process and selecting subs. We've had productive dialogue with the NorCal carpenters, even in the last month, and discussed them sending over their list of subcontractors for us to reach out to during the bidding process.
Well, would you say it's a priority for your firm to make sure that the contractors that you work for, do right by their employers, by their employees, and to make sure that those who work on this project make a livable wage and have the benefits they need to survive here in Silicon Valley?
We've had all of our subcontractors for responsible practices and, obviously good work product and a lot of contractors who work, throughout the Bay Area.
So I don't know, was that a yes or a no? Did you answer my question?
I thought I did. Okay. Do you mind?
Can you repeat your... My question was this. When you are looking for, I guess, developers or contractors who work on this project, is it important to you that they pay their workers a livable wage and that those who work on these projects have health benefits?
It is absolutely important that the workers on the site get paid. That's something that we take very seriously. All of the contractors are vetted for responsible payment. I don't know enough about the various healthcare providers and systems, on the construction side.
That's something you could look at, obviously, when you're looking at a contractor who's going to work on the project, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then another thing that was mentioned was apprenticeships. Something that's very important here in San Jose is pipelines to careers. Have you got, given that you guys are building 1,500 homes, I think the amount of units were, have you guys explored the idea of apprenticeships or maybe working with existing apprenticeships here in the city of San Jose or in the Santa Clara County?
I know, I don't know if they're still here. Obviously, Conco was speaking. I believe they have apprenticeship programs. And they could probably better discuss the details than I could. But
what percentage of the project is Conco going to be doing?
I don't know off the top of my head. They're probably the largest. I mean, the concrete, you know, whether it's, as I said, we haven't selected a subcontractor yet, but the concrete on these projects, on the multifamily component, is by far the largest subcontractor on the project.
Okay. Thank you. You know, thank you. That's sure. All the questions I have for you right now. I appreciate that. Housing is obviously very important, you know, right now, just based off of displacement, the cost of living. You know, these conversations are important to be had. You know, we need to make sure that those who build in San Jose are doing right by their employees. But I'm also torn about how this will impact the Japanese community, and I'm sympathetic to the vice mayor and her community, because if she's not advocating for her community, you know, no one else will. So I don't know how I'm going to vote on this. Obviously, I signed on to the memo, but I'm going to wait to see what others say. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Let me turn to Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. First, thank you to the community for coming out and expressing your concerns, both your support for the project, but also your support for preserving truly an important piece of history. I want to thank Hanover for your commitment to building so many housing units of all types, both both the retail, the affordable housing units, the market rate housing units, and the for sale units. I think that's really a key development project in District 4 and will benefit the city of San Jose. I also want to express my support to Vice Mayor Kamei, who truly, through her passionate words, shared with us why the Sakaway home is so important to the Japanese American communities, members. And having just returned from Japan, I'm extremely sensitive to how the Japanese people in general, to generalize, comport themselves, and that is not to speak out. It is to be quiet and take what is presented to them and do so with grace and poise and respect. So I want to show Vice Mayor Kamei tremendous grace and respect to you for sharing your story and your words. Truly, I mean, let's face it, no one believes or should accept that what we did to the Japanese Americans in World War II is acceptable. That internment was horrific. We treated the Japanese Americans because of the way they looked. We segregated them and we treated them in a horrible way. We must not forget. We must not let our children forget, or we must educate our children of what happened, what we did to Japanese Americans. And Councilmember Ortiz, I acknowledge that we've done this to a lot of other peoples as well in the United States. But to focus on the issue at hand, that's the Japanese Americans. So we have to support. I'm of two thoughts. I appreciate also, I want to thank Councilmember Cohen for crafting a memo that takes into consideration the possibility of preserving the house on site. So I appreciate that, because frankly, first and foremost, that would be preferred, is to keep it on site if it's possible. So some investigation has to be done. I appreciate the words, the comments from PRNS, but I'm a little dissatisfied that we don't know actual costs to maintain it or to renovate it. So I'm a little frustrated with that. I'm conflicted because the family is ready to, family wants this property to be sold, wants the park to be created in their father's name, and I honor that as well. It seems to me that the best solution is to preserve the house by relocating it to History San Jose, a location where many children will visit on a regular basis, and their children's children will benefit from seeing it and hearing the story. I'm not satisfied with plaques at the development site. I don't think that's enough. I think given the story, given the impact of Mr. Sakaway-san, I think he contributed so much more in just listening to your stories today and what I've read about him than what plaques will do in a park. It must be more than that. It must be bigger than that. And at History San Jose, I think it can be bigger than that. But the motion made by Councilmember Cohen includes the possibility to investigate, or the opportunity to investigate retaining it in sight. So I like that as an option. Thank you for including that. So we're not yet making a choice, but there is a lot of decisions and discussions to be had. I do have a question regarding specifically the relocation and the cost of rehab. So I know Hanover has pledged $100,000, or at least that's within the motion. I don't know what it costs to relocate a building, but I think it's a lot more than that. Bill, do you have an idea what it costs to relocate a building to History San Jose? The restoration is $500,000, or the move?
I just want to repeat for anyone listening online, it would be helpful, Bill, if you're going to answer any more questions, if you could use the mic, just because we do have an audience sometimes listening to these. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and what I really want to know is, because I've had people who've moved historic houses from half a mile away to their new location, and it was really expensive because of the utility lines and everything that they have to move.
Correct.
This is moving substantial distances from the current location to History San Jose. So how much do you think the move itself will cost, the relocation itself?
I don't know yet. That was numbers, because this project came fast and furious on me. So we've been doing the research on that. I really don't have those numbers. We looked at the house. We looked at various options about moving the house, about taking off the roof, about cutting the house in half. There's all different ways that it might have to be done. So I unfortunately don't really have those numbers yet.
Okay, and then if you take it apart, you have to put it back together and the utilities. So you're saying $600,000 roughly just to get it connected to utilities, but that doesn't bring it up to the...
No, that would not bring it into restoration.
And how confident are you that you can raise those funds?
That much? I am pretty confident I can raise those funds. We raised those funds when we moved the Coyote Depot.
Okay. And, all right, I'm going to trust you on that.
Okay.
Because to me, I love History San Jose. It's one of my favorite places in the city of San Jose. It's a place that you can experience history from all over, and a variety of cultures that have affected and impacted San Jose, not to mention the Japanese Friendship Gardens
next door
that are there. And I would encourage us, if we relocate anything, that we do it in time for the anniversary of the San Jose Okinawa Sister City 70 years, which will be 2027. So the impact of the Japanese community in San Jose is huge. The relationship with the country of Japan and the Japanese community in San Jose is huge. We must honor that. We must respect that. And we must make sure that the house that we bring to History San Jose does not fall into disrepair like the Friendship Gardens ponds.
Correct.
Just throwing that out there.
No, I see
throwing that out there to PRNS too.
I see that every day. One of the saddest things that I hear from visitors is if you go online and for a trip to San Jose, one of the top 10 things to visit is the Japanese Friendship Garden. Yeah. And people come to History Park right across the street and go, "What is that?" And it's an embarrassment the way it is right now.
It's worse than that. Having just visited the gardens that it was based on, it's really, really sad. So I am going to support this motion because it does include the possibility of retaining the house on site. Ultimately, I think relocating to History San Jose near the Japanese Friendship Gardens makes a lot of sense, but we must honor the Japanese American involvement both in World War II, in the internment, in the World War, for that matter, not even saying how highly decorated that branch of the military was. So I am going to support this, and I want to thank you for your creative motion to make sure that we could look at all aspects of it. But please, when we go to the community, make sure that we do reach out to the Japanese American community, because it's huge and involved, but they don't speak loudly. They speak softly, and we want to listen to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Okay, next we're going to turn to Councilmember Batra.
Thank you very much for those description of the project, and Vice Mayor for your comments and the emotions which were packed in that short description that says it all about the family, about the Japanese contributions. And you know that this morning I talked about proclamation, and it is the multiple cultures who have contributed to San Jose, and we live as one. And this is one story you just told, and it is so relevant. So thank you very much for making those comments with that emotions, and I really appreciate and commend that for you. Okay. Regarding this project, many people have talked about different aspects of this project, many virtues in this project, because it is large. It meets the needs of our time, because the San Jose is so short of housing. Having a project of this size come around isn't trivial in any style. We need many more, and hopefully this will be a trigger to bringing more of those things as we make progress on this one. The other aspect of this one is, I've been always concerned about when we talk about affordable homes. Building separately from other places, affordable homes, have always worried me, creating a segregated society. And when we did that before, it didn't work well for us. I am so glad that this property is going to be developed both as a mixed use, mixed income, which is going to provide people the opportunity to have the right kind of facilities, because we build only an affordable tower. The retail and other activities are not going to come to the level which they will come in a marketplace environment. So all the other facilities, this way it will bring it, which should be appropriate for our society to live in and not be getting segregated again. So I admire that fact of the thing, along with the many others which have been talked about. And I think this should become a model for our future developments and be all mixed use, mixed income, and provide opportunity for a good living for all the residents, all the future residents. And hopefully it solves our problem of trying to build the 62,500 units we need to build in the next 8 years. So thank you very much for this project, and the family which property it is going to be built on, thanks to them, and the concept and the architects and all the people who have worked on it. It's a great job, and hopefully it becomes a model for all other developments. I will be supporting this motion, and would like to see the progress on this thing in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. All right, we have a few hands still up. Councilmember Dewan, have you commented on this item yet?
No.
Okay, I'm going to come to you, and then I'll come back around to Vice Mayor and Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. This is incredible projects that provide housing and jobs, and then sustainability in retail out there to support our communities. And I want to go back to what Vice Mayor Kamei, with all the sacrifice and the adversity for the Sakui family have gone through and endure and survive, and be able to make a mark upon our community by not only helping others, but providing farms and food to many families. And I think we should preserve the history. And you made it very clear, we should preserve it and not erase it. And sometimes we forget that the enormous amount of contribution that the Japanese has done for our country. And the way we treated them was horrific. And I think we owe it to the Japanese American right here in the city of San Jose. And I have to ask Hanover quickly, I think the plaque doesn't do justice whatsoever. And this is a huge project. And I'm truly grateful and thankful that you put in $100,000. But as Bill made it very clear, it's going to cost a lot more than that. And I would hope that Hanover would reconsider that amount to at least double it, to make that, to save and preserve a true history of the Japanese American right here in the city of San Jose. And as you well know, I'm very supportive of this project. But in turn, we need to make sure we preserve that history. And it's extremely important to all of us, not especially to Vice Mayor Kamei, but all of us right here on this dais. We want to preserve that history, and I hope that Hanover would think about what I've asked and try to meet it. And I think it's a minimal investment for the history of the Japanese American right here in the city of San Jose. And thank you, Vice Mayor, for making your compelling argument there.
Thank you, Council Member. Agreed. Okay, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, back to you.
Thank you. I had a question of the applicant in terms of a timing question. I want to come down. I understand that there's sort of a time frame in which things needed to move forward, and I just wanted to know, sort of the time frame, because I would like to see the farmstead to be preserved on site, but I know that, in terms of the things that you have to do to move the project forward, I wouldn't want to, impede on your schedule. So it's my understanding that you're looking at a 6 months time frame. Is that correct?
Roughly. And first off, thank you for the question. This entire process has been about balancing many priorities, providing the housing, trying to create a multifamily community project in a world and in a place where there hasn't been any new multifamily building permits pulled in 2 years in the city of San Jose for market rate projects. It's just a very difficult environment. And so we have tried thoughtfully to, come up with a strategy with, a combination of for sale and multifamily to build all the infrastructure and fund that in order to actually, get this community going in North San Jose. And I end with infrastructure because, the first thing that we have to do on this site is remediate the entire site, given its past agricultural use. And that requires, there's an approved soil management plan with, the county's Department of Environmental Health. And obviously the house and the homestead is sitting right there in the middle of it. So we are looking to break ground, as Councilmember Cohen stated correctly, the month of February. So roughly 5-6 months away. That is correct. And we are, committed to following, the recommendations in the memo, working closely with community partners, and continue our work with, our friends at PACT SJ to try to find a solution. Whether that be on-site or off-site. But the timing is critical because it's somewhat of a very complicated mechanism to put all the financing together for a project of this scale. And people in our equity partners and construction lenders, they all want certainty. They want to know when the project's going to start. So to the extent we collaborate going forward, and I look forward to doing that, we do so quickly, and we do so so that I can communicate certainty to the financial partners, lenders, and equity partners that are needed for a project of this scale.
Yeah, so the 5 to 6 months really is a time frame as to whether we keep it on site and move it to the on site where the park is, or move it elsewhere, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm good with that. I think that, thank you.
Thank you.
I think that I want to ask Councilmember Cohen in his motion, the item, the original memorandum 2.C really talks about continuing, and I know Councilmember Torres added the Japanese American Museum, but I want to prioritize on-site versus off-site, in this time frame. I mean, if we can't do it within the time frame, we know that it, could either go on-site or off-site, but it's much more significant if it's on-site. So I just want to make sure in terms of when we're giving staff direction that is the direction in terms of priority, that the priority is on-site if possible, but not to impede with the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that it's kind of a parallel path, though. That's the reason why I hesitate on this,
Okay.
because I think in order to make sure that the potential to move it remains alive, we kind of have to be preparing for the move at the same time as we're looking
Yes,
for the
yes,
on-site.
yes,
And I don't want to
yes.
say we're prioritizing one over the other. I think the direction that says potentially including it on-site is a direction to the Parks Department, because they're not involved in the move to the other site. But at the same time, History San Jose and everybody is working on the potential for the move, so that whichever one becomes the most viable will be ready to go in January when it needs to go. So I mean, I don't know what language specifically.
Well,
kind
I
of
just
fixes that, but-
don't want parks to, assume, oh, it's going to go over there. That, really the priority, if we're able to make it a priority and get the funding and all of that, is to keep it on site. I mean, we could do parallel
I mean, I'm not
track.
disagreeing with you. I'm trying to figure out the language that you
Yeah.
kind of put in the motion to make that clear. I mean, I think
It's
the
just
motion.
that 2C does not say that, so I just want to clarify that.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not putting in language that restricts one or the other. That's all. But I'm fine with.
That's
I mean,
that's
look,
fine.
we could change the language to say. I mean, right now it says including possibly keeping it on site, and we can change it, make stronger language that says really seriously, evaluating keeping it on site, so that makes sure the Parks Department is taking seriously our direction that I think they're hearing, but I think the conversation here is giving them direction at the same time, which we often do. But I'm okay with.
Interject. It sounded to me like the spirit of the conversation, generally speaking, if this captures it, was that we were going to explore both options in parallel, understand feasibility, cost, timelines. And I was hearing, though we didn't formalize it, a number of people indicated a preference for keeping it on site if possible, also recognizing it may not be possible. And as we explore in parallel, it seems to me that given the logistics and the short time frame, there may come a point where staff needs the flexibility to say, we have to go with option B because otherwise there may not be any option to preserve the house. And so that was kind of the sentiment of what I was picking up. I just said more than what you'd want to write in a recommendation, but that was roughly what I was hearing. Does that accord with what?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I just wanted to clarify because that's not what it says in the memo. So I just want to kind of make sure that happens.
I mean, that's fine. I mean,
okay.
I mean, we could say. I have to remember the exact words before I know exactly what the wording would be. Let me look at the wording here. Relocation, oh wait, that was the wrong memo, sorry, 2 memos. Including a preference to keep I mean, we could change, instead of saying including the possibility, we could say including a preference to keep the house on site.
I like that, including the preference to keep, yes.
Okay.
That would work, thank you.
Can I just ask on that point? I know staff's going to ultimately explore feasibility, engage stakeholders, and work with council member and vice mayor and others. Do we have a sense, and this might be for our parks department, for Ray, do we have a sense of the presumably relocation would be more costly to San Jose History Park because it's farther, I'm assuming. That would be more expensive. On the other hand, the maintenance might actually be higher in the park if we have certain expectations about what it looks like inside of a public park versus History San Jose, which is fenced off and isn't used quite the same way. So I don't know if that's a consideration, but just for us to have awareness of some of the variables.
So we can explore the different costs of keeping it on site as well as moving it to History San Jose. The cost benefit of that. And then, we do have the master plan and the naming coming later in the fall, and so we can report on that, those numbers and that analysis then, and in the meantime have discussion with community and other stakeholders about the possibilities, including the developer.
Yeah. Okay, and there's a lot of variables to figure out in a pretty short time frame. And I apologize. Thank you, Ray. And I started interjecting with questions. Did Vice Mayor have the floor? Or did Council Member? Vice Mayor, I think the floor was yours. You finished? Okay, and you're satisfied with the interpretation there? Okay.
No, my hand was up, but because I spoke, I guess my hand went
Council
down.
Member, you were.
I was only going to make a couple of very brief additional comments, and I appreciate the conversation, and I'm torn about what the best disposition is. I mean, I think one or the other is good. Either one's acceptable to me, but I have heard there are some true benefits to the History San Jose option versus the park option. But the council will have a chance to weigh in on this again because the master plan does have to come before the council before the project starts moving forward. What I just wanted to make sure was clear was, and I think I just said it in that last comment, was whatever we're doing now to raise funds for either solution should be fungible for either solution so that at the end of the day, we're not cannibalizing one and preventing the other from happening. I also just want to acknowledge a conversation that I had again with Bill at History San Jose. There is the possibility, and this is for the Parks Department as well, for some kind of partnership where History San Jose operates and maintains the property, even if it's on site at San Jose Parkland. They've done it before and could do it again. So there's an opportunity for some partnership that maybe makes this a different circumstance than some of our other sites where it's entirely the responsibility of the Parks Department to maintain. So let's make sure that all of these dots are connected as we move forward in that process. And the last thing I want to say is just, there's been some kind of comments directed towards Hanover about why this isn't feasible in the park, and I want to make sure it's understood. Hanover had nothing to do with the decision about whether it would be in the park or not. Hanover was willing to do any solution, has offered putting it in the park, has offered moving it to History San Jose, has talked about any solution, and really it was a conversation, and I can own part of it, but a conversation between the Parks Department, myself, and the community about what they wanted in the park that led to the decision not to move it to the park. But Hanover was willing to support the move of it to the park. So I just want to make sure it's clear that they have not stood in the way of that as a solution, and I'm sure they wouldn't. They just want to make sure that the house is clear from where it is now when they're ready to start construction of the project. So that's last comment.
Thanks for that clarification. It's good to know. Okay, and then just on the interpretation of the motion, I just want to make sure the seconder was okay. That made sense. Okay, great. And Councilmember, did you have your hand up? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Ray, have PRNS thought about public and private collaboration if the Sakui house stay right there in development? So that way it's a combination of public and private, so that way it's so much easier with the maintenance or preservation, if you will?
So there's been many options suggested this evening, so we'll look at all of those options, including what a private-public partnership in this kind of a scenario would look like, and we'd come back with these different scenarios when we bring the master plan and the naming.
Thank you, and I think that we look at that option. Then Hanover is a builder, but I don't know who's the owner will be of the whole site, but that would be a pride for that development to say, look, I preserve this, I'm part of the preservation and continue to maintain the building, up to standard for all to enjoy. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Council Member. I think that exhausts the comments, questions, motions. We have a motion on the floor. I do, once again, just want to thank everybody who came out to speak. I know it's late. A lot of important topics were raised. I want to thank Councilor Cohen for crafting, and I know working on this for a very long time with his staff and others, but crafting a motion I think appropriately balances the different needs and interests of the community here. And Vice Mayor, thank you for your advocacy. With that, I believe we're ready to vote.
Mayor, if I can just make one clarification.
Sure.
Just from staff's perspective, we'd just like to clarify that the recommendation includes modification of the general development plan for the zoning and the various approvals and resolutions, including the EIR resolution to accommodate the move, because right now it currently doesn't. So we just want to make sure that that's wrapped into that so we can make the appropriate changes.
Thank you for making those notes for the record. That makes sense, and that's correct with the maker of the motion. Yes.
I was going to say, Councilmember Cohen made a change in one of the memorandum, or one of the
yeah, that wasn't really that point. That was something else. So,
the resolution.
Yeah, that was something else,
okay.
But that's an additional change as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and staff caught that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Any other questions or comments? All right, Tony. Now we're ready to vote.
Motion passes unanimously of those present, with Davis absent.
Great. Okay, thank you. So we're on to open forum, and as I mentioned earlier, I know there were a few folks who, at least I was aware of, I think a couple folks who wanted to speak on item 10.2. Given that there was confusion about when that item was going to be heard, we'll allow those comments at open forum. Anyone else who has commentary on city business that was not on today's agenda is also welcome to speak at open forum. Tony, do we have commenters?
Kalila Fetterman.
Good evening, honorable city council members. My name is Kalila Fetterman on behalf of Appellant Silicon Valley Residents for Responsible Development. Thank you, Mayor. I want to note that tonight's hearing agenda listed the hearing on this appeal project following the note that the city council will adjourn until 6 p.m. This led the public to reasonably believe that this item would be heard at 6 p.m. following the adjournment. But thank you for hearing public comment on this item at this time. As I represent appellant on this item, I respectfully request a 5-minute timer or additional time beyond the 2-minute public comment period. I hope that can be accommodated. Silicon Valley residents filed this appeal to ensure that the City Council fully complies with its obligations under the California Environmental Quality Act before approving the project. We respectfully request that the City Council uphold our appeal and require staff to prepare an EIR to adequately analyze and mitigate the project's significant environmental impacts. The mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project does not adequately mitigate the project's significant environmental impacts related to air quality, public health, and transportation and traffic. Under CEQA, the city's decision not to prepare an EIR and instead rely on a mitigated negative declaration can only be upheld where there is no credible evidence that the project may result in significant environmental impacts. This is known as the fair argument standard, which creates a low threshold for favoring environmental review through an EIR rather than an MND. Substantial evidence, as presented in our appeal and our comments, support a fair argument that the project will result in potentially significant air quality, transportation impacts from construction and operation of the project, requiring preparation of an EIR. The MND fails as an informational document under CEQA because it does not include an accurate and complete public description. The MND describes the project as an industrial manufacturing warehouse, but analyzes the project's impacts under a less intense use for research and development. Without a designated end use, this ambiguity leads to uncertainties about the project's impacts, and the MND's mitigation measures do not significantly mitigate the project.
Is this, all right, we'll go ahead and allow it. We're going to do just 2 more minutes because the council did hear the item and vote already.
Thank you, I understand. I appreciate the extra time. Additionally, the project results in significant air quality impacts associated with construction pollution of oxides of nitrogen or NOx. Our air quality expert found that project construction will result in an exceedance of Bay Area Air Quality Management District's significant threshold. In fact, our expert found that emissions of NOx would be more than double the threshold for daily NOx emissions. This would result in a significant air quality impact under CEQA, which could cause health problems in the surrounding community. Due to the project's significant environmental impacts, the city cannot make the necessary findings to approve the project's entitlements, including the site development permit. Our comments provide substantial evidence that the project results in non-conformance with the general plan policies related to air quality and transportation. The project's significant environmental impacts render the project out of conformance with the general plan policies in place to protect against hazardous air quality and traffic impacts. In conclusion, and as detailed in our comments and expert consultant reports delivered to the City Council, the City must prepare an EIR for the project because substantial evidence supports a fair argument that the project would result in significant adverse impacts that were not identified in the MND and that are not adequately analyzed or mitigated. The MND also fails to contain the basic information and analysis required by CEQA, deficiencies which cannot be dismissed as harmless or insignificant defects and require preparation of an EIR. We urge the city to grant this appeal and fulfill its responsibilities under CEQA by withdrawing the MND and preparing a legally adequate EIR to address the potentially significant impacts described in Silicon Valley residents' comments and those of our expert consultants. It is critical that the City Council exercise their decision-making authority to ensure that the city complies with CEQA, protects the rights and health of its constituents, and that all potentially significant project impacts are analyzed, disclosed, and substantially mitigated prior to approval. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. We appreciate it. Do we have any other?
Yes, Mike Sodergren.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to encourage the council. First of all, I love this council. I love my city. You guys are very thoughtful. The concern that we continue to have is unoccupied properties that are in between, the seller and the new project burning, putting our environment at risk. And I just would encourage our good friends in planning, building, and code enforcement to come up with some sort of package that, is available to the development community to say, here's the reasonable things that we ask you to do to protect the site and the community around the site in that interim period. That's enough. Thanks.
Back to council.
Okay. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned. Have a great evening.